Welcome everyone to another Streaming Made Easy session. I'm live from IBC 2025 and I've brought with me two amazing companies and partners with whom I wouldn't have been able to pull Streaming Made Easy Live, which took place on September 11th. So let me welcome Steve Russell from Irdeto and Giles Tongue from Bango. Hey guys.
Hi man.
Good to have you here. So, just as a quick intro for those who weren't there on Thursday, both Irdeto and Bango were partners. They had a simple task, no sales pitch. You guys did amazing. It was all about bringing value. Thanks to Irdeto, we learned a lot about piracy, and I think we need to learn about more things that you guys have been doing, but I'll come to that in a minute. And of course, with Bango, we talked about bundling. And Giles, I really liked the session that Louisa, your Chief Commercial Officer, did with Vincent Stevens from Telenet. It was fascinating to understand how these guys are really trying to beef up their super aggregation. What did you think?
Yeah, I think Vincent's a great guest because he's so knowledgeable. He's been around the block, so he can share a great perspective on the whole industry, not just what's going on at Telenet. And Louisa did a fantastic job hosting the fireside. I thought she was really very, very strong and got a lot of good information out. So, and also we just did this case study with Telenet launching their own marketplace. So it was nice to hear the reasons why and how they'd made some of the choices they'd made. So I thought it was a really good session. I was delighted with it. And actually, can I say I was delighted with the whole event? It was really fantastic. 150 people, something like that. Some content providers, some mobile operators, telcos, really nice atmosphere, lovely venue. It was just brilliant. And honestly, whatever my expectations were, this has blown the doors off it in many dimensions. So well done.
That means a lot because, man, I've been at a lot of events. I'm sure you have too. That was the first time that I was doing this thing. And I'm like even more grateful when I see the level of detail that you have to manage. And so for those who weren't there on the day, I've actually announced that I will be taking this to Lisbon for, nicer weather in April. So join us there. But we're going to do it next year again. And since IBC is not even over, but we already know the dates for next year. And so September 10th, ahead of IBC 2026. Oh man, I can't thinking about next year when this is not even done is crazy. So, be there. Steve, you've been, you have an amazing setup here, amazing booth. What brings your team to IBC? Why are you even coming here?
I mean, first, let me echo everything Giles said about Thursday. It was a great day for us. One of the things I loved about it was the fact that you segued between the content provider space and the operator distributor space. And, here at IBC, we tend to get a little bit bound up in the tech side of things. From Irdeto's point of view, we work on both sides of that fence. So some of our largest customers are, the big streamers trying to drive their anti-piracy efforts, trying to protect their own investments. But equally, we're working with the operator in the distributor space, trying to make that experience as joined up as possible, trying to join up a fragmented world. So, here at IBC, we've been playing to both of those audiences. And I don't know about your view, it feels like a strong show still, which I'm never sure. We keep going through this.
It's hard, right? Until they gave us the number, we don't know whether it's a good show or not. But so that's a good segue into what is the metrics of success. What does success look like for you guys after a few days at IBC? Is it foot traffic, the number of meetings, what comes out of those meetings?
I mean, from our side, I think there used to be a time where you thought you'd go to IBC and the opportunity would rock up at the stand, you'd do a great pitch, and you'd convert it into something you didn't expect.
And you would sign on a napkin.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of legend of IBC. I think those days are a little bit kind of over. So what's the metric now? It's not quantity, it's quality of engagement, it's quality of the brands, it's, are the individuals we're speaking to, true decision makers, the right people. And, our feeling is that it's been very good from that point of view. The meeting rooms have been, full with lively, engaging conversations on deep, proper issues. And no, it's not closing business, but it is always moving the conversation along another point. And I think, an investment in something like IBC alongside what we do at NAB, and maybe even leaning into some of these other events that you're talking about, is just the way to keep the conversations going, keep the meetings moving.
I love that. What's interesting is that you guys have a very different experience of what IBC is, because you guys at Irdeto have an amazing booth. We'll have drinks there later. Bango, you went a different direction. You guys are pretty much everywhere, right? So you are going to people. How has it been for you?
Yeah, so our approach has been slightly different this year. We have had a booth here in the past. We didn't this year. There were actually two events that we were interested in generally this time. There was a global carrier billing event earlier in the week, which we have a presence, and our chairman was speaking at that one. Streaming Made Easy was the reason I was here. So we invested our time and energy into that. And then at IBC, we have to be where our current customers are. So we had a lot of continuation conversations. We have a number of partners here. So, for example, Nagra announced a partnership that we're working with them on with One Hungary earlier in the week. So we're supporting them. And there are a number of other partners and potential partners that we could be working with. And I think that's a theme of this show is, for the people we're trying to work with in terms of customers or prospect customers, they're having to negotiate quite a huge tech stack to get things to market. And as I walk these halls and see so many sort of very similar looking companies, you realize that the more we can partner together and work with each other, the simpler their lives will be, which should speed up time to market for everyone. So when we're here, we had 4 or 5 people here walking the floor, having continuation meetings and having new prospect meetings and partnership meetings. And really our success will be around the evolution of those. So, quite a different approach this time.
Interesting. So it's not about necessarily selling one-to-one. It's about being part of a Lego box, and you're one of those tools because your zone of genius, your sweet spot is this one thing. You're not looking to do so enough with the end-to-end. I do everything is I'm taking the best of, every corner of this industry and putting it together to facilitate. I love that. So I'm assuming you guys have been very busy, so it's hard to ask you if anything, popped out. But if you had time to walk around or speak with folks, what is one thing that kind of stood out? It can be technology, it can be the demo, of course, it can be a discussion or a mindset shift that you've witnessed, Steve.
I think if I was going to draw on one thing that just springs to mind, it is the evolution in formats and the way people are thinking about content and the origins of content. So I'll give you an example. We pulled together a lot of joined up streaming aggregation solutions for customers, which traditionally is going to the large screen in the living room and the normal devices. More and more people are interested in a portrait, horizontal aspect on the video, which is not something that we'd have thought of a few years ago.
You mean vertical?
The vertical format, and the ideas of the microdramas within that as an emerging format, and then trying to be really clever with monetization within that. Anything to do with monetization is music to the ears of the operator. Everybody's looking for new ways to make money. So the idea of being able to deliver new ad formats, shoppable ads, the idea of playing with these different concepts together. So maybe I'll present as shoppable ads. If you buy the thing that I'm pushing, I'll give you tokens towards the next micro drama, and that kind of mixing and munging of the traditional formats, as well as the classic sports and local content and dramas and everything else play.
I can relate to that. I think I've spoken to many people. I haven't seen that many demos myself, but many times around, vertical videos came back, and in two ways. To your point, microdrama is more the format of the content itself, not necessarily the packaging or it's more the production of it. But we also saw a lot of companies pushing technology to actually facilitate the transformation from one to the other. So whatever is being shot on, and for the big screens, how can you actually at scale create vertical content from that? And that's maybe the only one that I saw is AWS had a demo about, turning content into vertical videos, because there's no way you can do that on your own. No way at all.
But the other piece of that is that this is within the context of a much wider aggregation play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, what can I offer to add a little bit of, differentiation, something new within the market, but within the context of aggregation. And, Giles, when you were talking about the kind of partner relationships that you're looking at, and the fact that you're really enabling people to bring services together in a commercially enabled way, our job is to bring that streaming experience together. It's all within that context of, I need to bring more and more into the package, into the bundle, in order to stand out in a competitive market.
100%. How about you?
Yeah, I'll give two things. One is, as I've been talking to various people, I haven't had so much time on the floor, but some of the vibes I've been getting from people is that the conversation's been very mission orientated. People are coming with a particular problem to solve, and that's making the conversations very accurate.
Yeah.
Can you do this for me? I need to solve this particular pain point. So that's been a recurring theme. And I think in terms of demos and things I've seen, sometimes you'll be aware of a company and you don't quite know what all the bits and pieces are that they do and how it comes together. And there's one company that I saw really solve this problem and have created a fantastic package. And high fives to all of them, and well done to Gilles and the team at Kling.
Kling I agree
Pro,
with that. Yeah,
it looks absolutely fantastic. It really does. They've nailed it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you got to the bottom of this, but I think this is something that they've actually developed this past year from scratch, and very much out of necessity to address, a new pocket of players. I could actually use that myself, no?
Yes, yeah.
I think, I'm due a catch up with these guys. They're based in Amsterdam, French team. Kudos, French tech. But yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay, guys. So taking a bit of a step back and looking at key trends that you're seeing as becoming hot topics for the next few months, right? Yeah. And as we start 2026, we'll be here in a year's time. What do you think will be top of mind for most of the folks that you've seen here, whether we're talking tech, content, telcos, etc.?
I think when we were at MWC earlier in the year, AI was the big theme, but it felt a little bit of a veneer. It didn't feel like it had really found its home. There were some chatbots and some customer service kind of things. But beyond that, it felt like just sticking an AI suffix to whatever it was people were doing already. I think there's a bit of AI here. I saw Maria Ingold's presentation this morning where she's doing a great job at sort of classifying all these different types of AI and where AI can have a positive impact on the value chain, which is really fascinating. I encourage people to have a look at that as part of her dissertation. But I think probably the thing to keep our eye out in the next months and year will be the agentic AI.
Yeah.
And I think if companies get the agentic AI working well, then we'll probably see agents talking to each other, which is going to simplify the whole value chain, make everyone's life easier, cheaper, faster, time to market faster, ultimately creating better consumer experiences, which is where the wins happen.
I think it's been the talk of town, and everyone is expecting all of this, but I haven't seen a lot of actual use cases of people saying, this is making my life easier, this is cheaper, so I think, to your point, we're hoping this will do a lot of things, but I don't think we're there yet. So agree with you. I think it will be interesting to see if within this year's time it's actually really making a difference, because I feel it made a difference at a B2C level.
Yeah.
Meaning the uptake of, chat GPTs and other, like even OpenAI, that's not the business they want to be in. They don't want to be in B2C. They want to be in B2B. But right now, I think where the promise has been delivered is how, we are all grasping and somehow using AI in our daily lives. So let's see if next year it's really transforming this industry we're in. Steve.
I did see one other use case, which was pretty cool, which was we're involved in the subscription bundling business, and there's quite a few D2C subscription products here, Kling being one. Another one is Evergen. And Evergen was showing this morning an example of where they're using AI to anticipate when a churn's likely to happen and start to present, solutions to that as it's coming about. And I thought that was really smart. That's a very intelligent use of perhaps things that you can anticipate and using AI to get in front of that and then start to provide solutions in anticipation of that churn moment. And I think that's a solution that everyone will be interested in finding out more about.
We are in the churner era, right? So it's no longer about, yes, we want to acquire new customers, but it's very much a question of retention. I love that. Super interesting. How about you, Steve?
I mean, I'll build on that then. So, why are we focused on churn? Because ultimately it's the business model that's king. And from our point of view, that core security, anti-piracy layer, how do I make sure that I'm not just building wonderful experiences, but while making sure that I'm not leaking cash out of the bottom of the business because I don't have a watertight technology security solution? And how do I make sure that I'm fully aware of the piracy landscape around me and doing everything I can to work within that? And I think, as businesses look closer to the economics of the content they're investing in, the ARPU they're seeking, the churn within that, this core bedrock of, is my content safe? Am I protecting the assets I'm spending my money on? Am I laser focused on that? I think that's going to build up. And I echo your point on AI that certainly the areas where we're using it is not on the stand anywhere, but underneath the covers, it's more and more playing part of the role within it.
Yeah, on the Media Odyssey podcast, we had Ade Greenberg, and he's the CTO now, CIO of SVT. And it's a shame because we were not rolling yet. But before we started, he said, in 2 years, we won't be talking about AI. It will be everywhere doing its job and we will have moved on. I think right now we talk about it, but we still haven't, really seen what it can truly do to the business. Okay, now, finishing up, you have your last few meetings. It doesn't have to be pessimistic, but it is an industry that is facing challenges. Right. And there's things that we need to change. If we set aside maybe technology for a bit, when you're looking at this industry, what would you change so that, we're more like the speed at which we transform and capture those, eluding younger generation, etc. What would you do? What would that be? It can be at your level, at your company's level, at the industry level, anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think the industry, if we think about the entertainment, media, and on our side, we look at the telco and otherwise, we're kind of in a Darwinian moment here where, it is going to be survival of the fittest, adapt and change. All of these themes are important. I think the telcos are going to be interested in how the MVNO world encroaches on their own, particularly if Mr. Beast and others come into that space. That's a heck of a brand to introduce to the playing field. And we've had an era of redundancies and, hiring freezes and so on. So there's a lot of change going on at the moment. AI is going to make things faster, different, so it's very Darwinian, the whole thing. I think if I was to consider one thing that I wish we could turn back the time on, it would be sports rights and sports media ownership.
Okay.
Because it's become so fragmented and painful as a sports fan. I saw a great graphic today showing the number of different services you would need to watch all the NFL games you would like. You're into 5 or 6 different services. And the same is true of soccer in most countries, or football as we'd prefer to call it. We can call it football, can't we, guys?
Yeah.
Evan's not here.
Exactly.
You need 3-4 different services. You're spending £100 or more a month to just watch your favorite sport. And that may be what's it called? Like a Pandora's box thing. It's out the box now. The genie's escaped. Can we put it back in? That's fundamentally broken for the fan. I'm sure lots of people are making lots of money out of it, but for the fan, that's nasty. And can we solve that somehow?
I agree with you, and I don't think we're there yet. When you look at the value of sports and the performance of sports in terms of how big audiences are, there's no reason to question and change things, except if you look at a local level, you're starting to see those troubling stories, right? And so France is a great example of, time after time for the last few years, every time there's a new, bidder, every time they're launching an offer, the market rejects it because it's too expensive. Because, of course, these guys, they're okay to buy League One football rights, but they want to make money, right? And so we've had that Darwinian moment, but honestly, it keeps happening. It's been twice this year around. the league itself decided to go, D2C, do it on their own. I think they've acquired like over 500,000 in the first week.
Yeah.
But what is being said is that they need 2.5 million subscribers to actually make a profit. Never going to happen.
And how silly is that when you think of the popularity of the sport and the number of sports fans, that they're struggling, a service is struggling to get 2.5 million fans together.
Yeah.
That tells you something is really
there's a mismatch. Here. They've lost actually League One. You were saying about like leaky buckets. And so when DAZN came in and came with that offer that was so expensive, the piracy of League One games last season was incredible. And so let's see what happens this year. Are they able to bring back those people who, decided to be like, what, 30 euros? No way. They won half. It's 15. But are they going to be able to, keep growing that sports? Massive question mark. So I relate. It's fragmentation. We have it everywhere. I'm done with that.
And maybe I can make one other industry comment here, since we're probably coming to the end. As I've been to a few of the social events here and looked out into the room, each room is a sea of middle-aged white men.
Yeah.
There's just not enough representation here in the room. It's pretty sad, really. And monocultures just don't survive.
Yeah.
So we as an industry need to evolve as well, rather than pointing fingers at little bits of it.
Yeah.
Overall, where are the young people? Where are the women?
Yeah.
Where, it's just the representation is.
We have a big diversity challenge in our hands, and we know it, and yet I'm not seeing any major progresses. So how about you, Steve? What is the one thing you would like to change?
Well, the first thing to say is that the diversity mix at your event on Thursday was better. I think because you're closer to content, it's good to be sat in front of a Rise microphone. Because
actually, this podcast, a shout out to the Rise Academy, and Women in Streaming Media. Those are two organizations who are pushing the discussion on that topic of diversity and women in technology. So good shout out.
So I think that's important. Maybe the other thing to say, fragmentation is going to be a word that we keep using. If you look at IBC and the number of halls, the number of stands in each hall, and we're extremely fragmented landscapes still at the technology layer. I think there's an interesting parallel between what you're seeing within the vendor space and the partnerships that we're trying to pull together to make some sense within the fragmentation, try to ally with each other and better together solutions that are pre-baked in some way. I thought it was interesting, the parallel with the content and distribution space. So, for example, Netflix, at your event on Thursday, the topic was partnership and how they can work in different ways with operators. And so I think we're trying to find new models within this kind of this space to make sense of it all. The other thing I think is just an interesting futures thing is, we're focused on media and entertainment, but even that is a silo in terms of the overall entertainment space. So, silos like gaming, like the live event space, sports to some extent, the studio space, what are the new ways in which we're going to start to blend all of those different angles together? And how do we make that coherent? I think that's going to be an interesting future.
What I thought was interesting this year is for the first time we had social media represented, right? So whether that's Snapchat, TikTok, or YouTube being on stage, right? So I think the next step would be to find a way to have them on the show floor. I think there's a lot of power in the diversity of topics. So both in terms of verticals. So I'd love for IBC to look more at here's what's going on, in gaming, in music, etc. So we can learn from one another. And you, with Bango, you are, because anything that is a subscription is of interest to you. So you are very much, multi-vertical in your approach. But so that's one thing I'd love to see next year. And I've heard them mention something about the creator economy. And I think, it would be interesting that, this event is not so much about, broadcasters and streamers and operators, but essentially anyone who's able, just like we are right now, to create content and, push it out there to the audience. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure to spend these last few days with you. Thank you again for being, so great partners for us. And we'll see you next year. So, guys, this is it. See you on September 2026.
Thank you.